So Razer has been coming out with a lot of stuff lately. It all started with the Viper wireless gaming mouse and then the Huntsman keyboard. Now those new Blade Stealth 13 with a 1650 Max Q. In fact, if you're interested in our full review and performance analysis of that gaming laptop, you can check it out right over here. But today we're taking a look at the Raptor. We first saw this back at CES this year, and a lot of you guys had concerns with the design and some other things. And now that we have a full retail sample here in the studio, let's see if anything has changed. But first, a quick message from our sponsor.
We've all been there, looking at our RAM thinking, what a weakling. Well, no longer. Introducing Tough RAM by Thermaltake, the toughest RAM around. With a discreet built-in logo and premium heat spreaders design, the toughest addressable LED system with super brightness, compatibility with all the usual motherboard software, even Razer Chroma, and voice control through Amazon Alexa. Available in the toughest capacities of 16 GB per kit with speeds between 3000 and 4400 MHz. Consider the Tough RAM RGB, linked below.
Alright, so let's get to the specs of this monitor. So it's a 27-inch display with a resolution of 2560 by 1440 with a refresh rate of 144 Hz. It's also G-Sync and FreeSync compatible. Do keep in mind that it does not have a physical G-Sync module. It's just that NVIDIA is supporting a DisplayPort adaptive sync, and then they validate that so that you don't get any artifacts. It also features a 1 millisecond greater response time, but you have to enable the motion blur reduction through the OSD settings for that to take full effect. I want to give credit to Razer for naming the gaming monitor Raptor instead of just some jumbled letters and numbers. This is just simple and it's more easier to differentiate within the rest of their product lineup. But with that being said, this is one of the most expensive 27-inch 144Hz 1440p gaming monitors on the market. And the specs don't really sound that great because there are other monitors out there in the market featuring similar specs. I think the biggest competition right now would likely come from Aorus, which is the AD27QD, and that's $150 cheaper. There's also the Pixio PX7 Prime, which can sometimes be found for as little as $400. Both of these use 10-bit panels instead of Razer's 8-bit, and so if you're interested in those two alternatives, links will be in the description down below. Out of the box, Razer does include display cables, and they do look quite fancy, classic Razer style in green. So you get an HDMI cable, DisplayPort 1.4, a USB adapter, power cable, and a Type-C cable. It's a cool flat design with a 90-degree connector on one end. It's great to see them including so many, but the problem is that these are custom designed cables by Razer, so if one of them breaks, you're gonna have to purchase another set directly through Razer, and I'm pretty sure they're not gonna be cheap. Now, the design of the Raptor is pretty interesting. It's not your traditional monitor style at all. In fact, the back comes with this fabric finish instead of a glossy plastic surface. It's pretty unique in my opinion, but I'm worried about lint accumulation over long-term use. There's also a small joystick at the back to control your OSD. There's no VESA mount support on the Raptor, which is a bummer in my opinion. I feel like Razer just decided to go with what they thought would be more unique instead of something that's standard. You can adjust the height of the monitor as well as tilt it all the way up to 90 degrees, but you can't pivot it. It's also very limited in terms of height adjustability, which is something to take into account if you're taller. The back of this monitor includes these cool wiring channels, which hides the cables. Basically, all the interesting stuff won't be seen if you place this monitor on a wall. But let's talk about those wiring channels, because they look great when everything is in place. But actually getting to that point is a pain in the butt. The first step is to remove the cable covers and then route your cables, but remember to not plug them in, because if you do and then adjust the height of the monitor, they can bend and even break if you don't realize what you're doing, like us. This is because the cables are too rigid and too thick, so they don't actually move in their respective channels, even with the covers off. Honestly, this is a pretty major design oversight from Razer. I think they should go back to the drawing board and redesign something that's more user-friendly, because the maneuverability that you get once you plug them in is very limited. In fact, you could start seeing those cables when you have them at a very lower position, especially when you plan on tilting it 90 degrees with the cables plugged in. Trust me, it's just really not a great experience trying to set this up. The base looks cool and it incorporates Razer's Chroma RGB lighting, which is of course expected. As for I/O, you get a USB port that powers Chroma lighting, power in, USB-C port that also functions as DisplayPort. I was easily able to drive this panel using my Blade 15 over a single USB-C cable, and I was able to comfortably push it at 144 Hz. There are also two USB 3.1 Gen 2 ports which can be used for peripherals, so the USB-C can also act as a single connection between the PC, the display, and your mouse and keyboard. You also get a DisplayPort 1.4, HDMI 2.0B, and a headphone/mic jack. One thing to keep note of is that the USB Type-C port only supports power delivery of 15 watts, so you can't really charge your notebook. So keep that in mind. All right, so now I'm gonna get to the one thing that I've been avoiding till now, and that is the Chroma RGB lighting that Razer has graciously added to the Raptor monitor. But I'm gonna let Mike chime in on this because he's actually spent a little bit more time with his monitor. Mike, take it away.
Chroma Synapse. I know how much you guys hate it, and I hate Synapse too, or at least I did until I saw what it could do on this monitor. So first of all the same things that a lot of you guys don't like about Synapse are there. You need to sign up for a Razer ID. It needs to be initially online to sign up. And in this case, you actually need a USB-C cable running from your device to the monitor at all times, even if you're running on DisplayPort, to control the lighting on there. If that cable is unplugged for any reason, well, you're going to lose the Synapse profile and it's going to start looking like this. Now, on the positive side of things, Synapse actually comes in handy on the Raptor. The reason for that is that a lot of the OSD functions can be controlled from within the Synapse software, and it does it extremely well, so you don't have to worry about fiddling with a joystick while you're doing anything on your PC. You can just go into the Synapse software, modify your settings, see them applied in real time, and you're done. On the flip side of that coin, the OSD is really simple. Everything's right there at your fingertips. There's picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture. The picture-in-picture allows you to modify the size of that second screen. Things like that you would normally expect from a high-end monitor are there. But what I want to know is, what does Eber think about gaming? Because he just finished a gaming session on this, so his thoughts are going to be hot off the press.
All right, gaming experience on the Raptor. And guys, right off the bat, it was absolutely amazing. I tried using other modes like gaming and streaming, but the sRGB mode actually turned out to be the best because the color reproduction was just spot on. Even though Razer doesn't claim it, the Raptor felt calibrated perfectly right out of the box, even without sRGB enabled. Contrast was on point as well. Personally, I think 1440p is the perfect resolution for a 27-inch display. The potential to use FreeSync and G-Sync is great. It's also a super bright panel. I didn't keep HDR on since it actually tended to introduce artificial brightness. A small word about that 1 millisecond response time. When you enable motion blur reduction in the OSD settings, the panel gets quite a bit dimmer, but it's another setting that I just turned off. Viewing angles are super consistent regardless of the angle. Seriously guys, this is one of the best IPS panels that I've encountered. But there is backlit bleed on this monitor, but you can't really notice it with your naked eye. As you can see by this shot, I had to crank up the ISO on my camera all the way up to 3200 to actually start to see some around the edges. But really, for the naked eye, it's all right. You can't really spot it. Conclusion time. And guys, I'm going to start with the positive things about the Razer Raptor. The first things first, display. It's absolutely gorgeous. One of the best IPS panels that I've encountered. The 144Hz refresh rate, G-Sync compatibility, it just all turns out to be a beautiful gaming experience. I can't really complain about it. Now, I also love the design of the Raptor. Sure, you are going to be losing on some things like VESA mounting support, and the height is just perfectly fine for me. I don't have to worry about that. And I don't think I'm going to miss the versatility or the maneuverability like pivot adjustments or all that kind of stuff. But some of you might definitely find those as drawbacks, and that's totally fine. That being said, I really wished if Razer added some more features to make it stand out from the rest, because this is Razer we're talking about. For instance, I would have loved to see a wireless charging pad on the base station so that I could charge my phone for convenience, or other features that we're typically used to seeing on gaming monitors from other brands for a lot less. This just feels like there's nothing really spectacular about the monitor by itself other than the Razer-y design, if that makes any sense. But now I'm going to invite Negative Nancy, Mr. Mike, to talk about the cons of the Raptor.
Negative Nancy here, reporting for hardwarecanucks. Here I am, and I'm about to sort of crap all over Eber's love-in with Razer.
Hey, no, I don't love Razer. I respect them as a brand. That's just to set the record, all right, guys?
And I think that might be the issue, right? Is what Razer is designing this for is to enhance their brand. And it's not necessarily to say, look, we've got the cheapest monitor, we've got the most features. They're doing this to appeal to an ecosystem approach. So if you're going to buy this monitor, you probably have other Razer things. And that's also the problem, because there's absolutely nothing other than these design elements, and some of them are really quirky, like that ridiculous cable management channel, that really make this a justifiable purchase for $700. And it's a crazy amount of money. And when you have companies like Gigabyte, Pixio, AOC that have specs that are similar to this, and they cost so much less, well, Razer is going to have a serious problem selling this and convincing people who aren't part of the Razer brand to actually buy this. It's form over function, and personally, it's not a monitor for me.
Mike, I think that was a great conclusion. Woo! I think you just said it. It's not the monitor for everyone. I think it's just a monitor for Razer fanboys. I just started a storm.
Burn the house down.
Let's do it. The Raptor from Razer is not the monitor for everyone. I think it's for people who desperately need Razer in their life. They just want a Razer gaming keyboard, a Razer mouse, a Razer display, a Razer notebook, a Razer... Alright, so with all of that out of the way, I want to know your thoughts about the Raptor from Razer. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. Also, make sure to check out some relevant content right here, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on a new video. I'm Eber with hardwarecanucks.
I'm Mike.
Mike is behind the camera, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.